Our next speaker is a good example of someone who's moved onward and upward and then came back. Nina Aguas, who I met for the first time recently, but a very interesting story. I know she started off as a CPA, and I think she's our third CPA today, if I recall, which is interesting. I don't know if that's a trend or something, but it's interesting. With SGV, and then was hired by Citibank early on. And she stayed with Citi for the next 26 years, I was told, moving from position to position. Head of the consumer bank in Philippines. Her last position at Citi was based in New York, where she was global head of, if I understand, corporate center compliance, if I recall. It was a global position based in New York for a couple of years, I understand, maybe 3 years. Then she was lured back to Asia with another bank, ANZ Bank, and was head of their Asia Pacific private banking group based in Singapore. So she spent a number of years there until making a full turnaround back to Philippines with PBCom, and now is head, the CEO of PBCom, and bringing that organization. I read she's bringing it back to its former glory. I don't know if that's quite the way to describe it, whether everyone would want to hear that. But in any case, made a lot of important changes that I've heard from different sources that have really made a big impact for the organization. It's a strong legacy organization, so difficult to make these changes, but changes have been made. So welcome for another good, exhilarating story. Nina Aguas, the Chief Executive and President of Philippine Bank of Communications.
Thank you, Richard, for that very flattering introduction. Is everyone awake? It was a good lunch? I wish I heard the same. Anyway, a very pleasant good afternoon to all of you. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. And we'll try to make the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes as productive as possible. I've prepared some material for this afternoon session, and I hope it will resonate with most of you. But I think this afternoon is not about me. It's not about my achievement, but an afternoon for all of us to learn from one another, to exchange ideas, and hopefully we take home a little bit more than what we came into the room for. So let me just start. I entitled this afternoon, The Road to a Dream. Like many Filipinos, I guess, the one big event that we had a week or so ago was the coming of the Pope to the Philippines, Pope Francis. So I'd like to open this afternoon with a clip that Rappler posted on their website.
Las mujeres tienen mucho que decirnos en la sociedad de hoy.
Women have much to tell us in today's society.
A veces somos demasiado machistas.
Sometimes we're too machistas.
Y no dejamos lugar a la mujer.
And we don't allow room for the woman.
Pero la mujer es capaz de ver las cosas con ojos distintos de los hombres.
But the women are capable of seeing things from a different angle to us, with a different eye.
La mujer es capaz de hacer preguntas que los hombres no terminamos de entender.
Women are able to pose questions that we men are not able to understand.
Presten ustedes atención. Ella hoy ha hecho la única pregunta que no tiene respuesta.
Look out for this fact today. She, Gaziel, is the only one who has put a question for which there is no answer.
Y no le alcanzaron las palabras. necesitó decirla con lágrimas.
And she wasn't even able to express it in words, but rather in tears.
Así que cuando venga el próximo Papa a Manila, que haya más mujeres.
So when the next Pope comes, please, more girls, women among the number.
So, as we have seen, this is a universal question. It's not just a question people ask in boardrooms and conferences. Even the Pope asks the question, where are the women? I'm just so happy I'm standing in front of so many women. And I think we should give a big hand to all of us on that one. But again, going back into the boardroom and the offices, in a recently published study on women in business and management, the International Labor Organization reported that globally, only 30% of business are owned and managed by women. This number is, of course, an average, so that there are some countries that do better than others. The Philippines is one of the countries at the top, number 5 in rank, as a matter of fact, with 41% of senior and mid-level management positions occupied by women. If we focus on the top of the corporate ladder, however, what the ILO report shows is that only 5% of the world's largest companies are run by women CEOs. The number is a bit higher in developing regions and among smaller businesses, where 20% of CEOs are women. Let me ask you the question, who wants to be a CEO? Show of hands, please. Come on, ladies, more hands. Thank you for the brave souls. My road to becoming a CEO was not spectacular or monumental. I did my best at work every day, every single day. I still do. And I set my sights on bigger and better roles. But my climb up the corporate ladder was also helped by being at the right place at the right time, and then recognizing the opportunities and seizing them. Rather than telling you my story, I'd like to share with you some lessons I have learned as I made my way to the top. And then, because I'd like to make sure you take something away from our time together, I'll spend the rest of my session answering specific questions you may have. First lesson is dream big. Everything starts with a dream. Dreams, in turn, are propelled by our sense of purpose and what makes us happy. What makes you happy? I became a CPA because I was an obedient daughter. My mother asked me to take up commerce and accounting. I was following her dream. As a fresh graduate, I joined the biggest audit firm in the country, but I found the job uninspiring. It did not make me happy. I was drawn more and more to the client side of the business. That's when I thought about banking. In truth, my young self was attracted more by the seeming glamour and the opportunity to travel than the vibrancy of the trade. I wasn't sure I would be happier there, but my gut told me that I could be. So I pursued it and found my way into one of the world's largest global banks, Citibank, where my career flourished. Midway through my 26th tenure with this bank, I had the opportunity to sit at a table with the chairman during his one and only visit to the country. Over dinner, he asked me what I hoped to be. I replied, someday I will be the president of a Filipino bank. His reaction was, and you never tell that to the chairman if you were wishing to be somewhere up there within the organization. Somehow I did. I was rising within the multinational organization. My dream was always to work for a local bank. One of the programs my team implemented allowed me to see firsthand how microfinance institutions empower people to escape from poverty. While my career took me elsewhere, both geographically and functionally, parts of my heart remained focused on this sector of the Philippine society. I gave many, many years for large multinational financial institutions, where I interacted with high net worth individuals and big corporations. It was compelling, high octane, a constant battle of wits, and I must admit, quite glamorous and heady. To fly first class all the time is something that I did appreciate. Running successful businesses energized me, and I believe I delivered far more than I failed. Along the way, however, I hit a crossroad. As a former National Geographic photographer, Dewitt Jones asked once, "Do you want to be the best in the world or the best for the world?" 3 years ago, I chose to go down a path that is less traveled, giving up a high-paying job in the private banking world overseas to come home to the Philippines and go local. My decision to come home led me to PBCom, where my dream of becoming a president of a Filipino bank came true. But I have not stopped dreaming. As president and CEO of PBCom, I have dreams for myself and the bank, that we have opportunities to serve our country's poor, underserved, and unbanked. That dream was partly fulfilled when we acquired 2 rural banks last year, but it continues to be work in progress. I'm leaving my banking dreams, so now I want to dream some more. I dream of something that will allow me to pursue the passions that I have outside of banking and give back. I dream of pursuing advocacy and maybe someday, perhaps, interior design and even fashion. Passion and purpose fuel our dreams. If we go after what we are passionate about, we are happier, more fulfilled, and there is no limit to what we can achieve. Second lesson is walk with confidence. Confidence begins with knowing yourself. What are your strengths? What do you do very well? What do you value the most? Please draw from your core. When you are fueled by what you know, what you are good at, and what is important to you, confidence will flow naturally. This is not just about getting up in front of a crowd or going after your dream job. This applies to everyday matters as well. For instance, when it comes to work-life balance, I've learned that one must confidently speak up to define the limits. When I was in a regional role, my work required that I travel heavily around Asia. We were being asked to fly out on Sundays, work overseas Monday to Friday, and then fly back on Saturday. But that would mean giving up my weekends, which was my only time with my family. So I said no to traveling on weekends, as traveling was part of the job. We traveled since on Mondays and came home on Fridays, but you have to set the boundaries. Exuding confidence is, of course, not just about speaking up. Your every action, every move, and how you carry yourself reflects on you and how confident you are perceived to be. I once read that this is about how you fill the room with your presence. Among us women, this is part of why I make an effort to make sure I'm well put together every day. While we hope that others will look beyond our physical appearance, the reality is, most especially in a professional setting, how we physically present ourselves impacts others' perception of our stature and credibility. So, stand tall and walk proud. Third lesson is really speak up, but also listen. What I have learned through the years of working with cross-cultural teams, both in the Philippines and overseas, is that Unless we speak, we will not be heard. The saying actions speak louder than words is not necessarily true in work settings, as silence can be mistaken for lack of knowledge or even worse, lack of interest. We might as well be a piece of furniture. Twice in my career, I was passed over for critical appointments. I believed I was the best person for the job. I also believed that in a system of meritocracy, my work would speak for me and a promotion would naturally be handed to me without asking. I was really naive in that sense. Both times, a male expatriate colleague was appointed, but luckily they did not last. Eventually, I got the job on the first instance. On the other, an even more senior post. It was then that I learned that no one is as invested in me as much as myself. As we reach more senior levels in large organizations, there will naturally be less of the price assignments. There can only be one CEO and an oversupply of talent. You must make a case for yourself, be ready to fight for the jobs you want and deserve. This, unfortunately, does not come naturally to us Filipinas. As we are raised in culture, we are taught to be humble and respect elders and people in positions of authority. But speaking up does not mean being proud or disrespectful. We can speak our minds in a humble, tactful, and respectful manner. Sometimes we are afraid to say something stupid that we don't speak at all. As they say, though, high risk, high reward. Frightening as it may be to speak up, nobody knows what is important to you as much as you do. Own it. Please own it. This takes practice and a bit of risk taking. But it's important that we teach ourselves how to do it. Just practice every day. We cannot be all talk, however. Too much passion may make us talk too much. The more we talk, the less we hear. We also need to try to listen, because it is by listening that we are able to connect and forge relationships with others. Life, after all, is a team sport. And as in all team activities, communication is key. The other lesson I want to leave with you is invest in your people. I believe that I am only as good and successful as my people. One of the things I'm most proud of is that individuals who have worked for me over the years now hold very senior positions across several industries and geographies. As leaders, our success also depends on the success of our people. We must have the generosity of spirit to think of them as extensions of ourselves and be as invested in their careers as we are in our own. We must equip them to succeed, inspire them to excel, and empower them so they can grow. What I have found is that by working to be the best boss I can be, I've been able to be a better mother and wife at home. By building teams of empowered, capable individuals, I've been able to establish and maintain a better balance between my work and home lives. Without my teams that have worked for me over the years, I would not be the business leader, wife, and mother I am today. This lesson is something that I've learned through the years, but it's very, very important that you take it to heart. I say have a sponsor, not just a mentor. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines a mentor as someone who teaches or gives help and advice to less experienced and often younger people. Mentors teach us, they give advice, they guide us. But here are some questions you must ask yourself. at work who has your back, who takes a risk on you, who will invest in you and make sure you are visible. While mentors can teach us much, I believe what rising individuals need is not just a mentor, but rather a sponsor. There are many others who are wanting the same type of success. You need someone who will get involved in your career and help you rise from the crowd. Otherwise, you may get lost in the fray. Early in my career, a senior leader in our global organization took notice of me. He selected me to be part of a team that would redesign our global function and organization. Unfortunately, the role required that I be based in New York for 2 years, something I could not do with young children. But that offer was my first big break. It made me visible in an organization of 200,000 people and opened the doors to other opportunities that eventually led me to become the first regional audit head for Asia Pacific, and later on, the first female country business manager again in Asia. As you can see, a sponsor can change the course of your career. The next lesson is really about accepting failures, that they are part of success. Life is not all sunshine and rainbows. There will be cloudy, rainy days. I'm living my dream right now, but there were low points in my career as well. There were times we had to shut down businesses and exit markets. And nothing is more painful for a business leader than having to let go good people, very good people. Like I shared earlier on a personal level, I've been passed over for promotions that I badly wanted, and I still remember how that made me feel to this day. But that is part of the journey. Failure is part of the path to success. We must thus allow ourselves to experience the pain of failure. But what is important is that we learn our lessons, pick ourselves up, and move forward. Forward and forward, as the Pope said in later. The best lessons are learned from failure and mistakes because we never forget that pain. However, the pain should give us a sense of hope rather than fear or desperation. All things that help you grow hurt, but everything will come to pass. Forward and forward. The next, and I think one of the more important, is keep your sense of humor. I try not to take myself too seriously. I don't think any of us should. I'm first to laugh at myself because I believe humor makes us more human and more relatable to those around us. More importantly, as a business leader, I believe keeping my balance and sense of humor carries a positive impact on the people around me. Humor and mood are infectious, in the same way that a sullen look can spoil the mood for everyone. When we go through very challenging times, I gather my team in my place, we hire musicians, and we sing, dance, and make complete fools of ourselves. It's amazing how an afternoon of laughter energizes us and gets us ready for whatever challenges lie before us. This is perhaps a distinct quality that we have as Filipinos. No matter what difficulties we face, we can laugh and we can smile. I think that's one of the reasons why we are so resilient as a people, for good or for bad. Humor and optimism, fueled by our spirituality, help us rise above our circumstances. Finally, the final lesson, enjoy the ride. Please enjoy the ride. Take the time. It's not just about the end goal, it's also about the journey that gets you there. My career has allowed me to be immersed in different cultures, travel to and live in different parts of the world, interact with both high ranking members of society as well as simple micro entrepreneurs. It has allowed me to meet the likes of former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and Nobel Prize awardee Muhammad Yunus of Grameen Bank. While my day-to-day work has made me a better banker, what I'm most grateful for is how all these experiences have helped me grow as a person. My journey to CEO and all the people, places, and experiences that were part of it have shaped my perspective and broadened and enriched my views. So I challenge you to keep your sense of optimism and childlike wonder. Keep your sense of adventure. As you travel the road to your dreams, enjoy the view. If you are too intense and too focused on the job, you risk losing perspective and balance. Look around you and allow what surrounds you to ground you. Remember, it all goes back to your dreams. If you are pursuing your purpose and passion, the ride will always be enjoyable. In summary, here are the lessons I have learned on my journey to CEO, the souvenirs I have gathered from my journey. Again, dream big, walk with confidence, speak up, but also learn to listen. Invest in your people. This is so important. You cannot go through life alone. It's a team sport. Have a sponsor, not just a mentor. Accept failure as part of success. Keep your sense of humor. And finally, enjoy the ride. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Thank you.